This school year started unusually. School children were going to classes for the summer. A crowd of teenagers with backpacks walked along the park to school. It was summer outside, and birds were chirping merrily in the trees. A girl in a black cloak stands in one of the school classroom and looks out the window. She is watching the school children who are going to classes at the school. The girl thought that perhaps this school year had been moved to summer because of recent events. The girl was not alone in the room. Around the girl were black creatures that took different intricate shapes. The creatures were alive. They moved and reacted to the girl's words. The girl looked at the creatures that looked like long claws. She sighed with boredom and said that it had been 60 years since anyone had entered this room. Sadly, the girl reflected on the fact that this year's students were her last hope. If no one came to this room, she would have to say goodbye to humanity. One of the students, a boy with curly blonde hair, looked up at the window of the room where the girl was. His name is Gakuro. A strange sense of unease troubled him. Students began to gather in the school's classrooms. In one of the rooms, there were high school students. One of the boys turned to a boy with glasses who was sitting at a desk. His name was Zeno. The boy thanked Zeno for picking up his eraser from the floor. Then the classmates surrounded Zeno and began to make fun of him. Zeno looked smaller than the other boys. One of the older boys told Zeno that he had realized during class that the boy with glasses was a cool guy. The other boys laughed out loud. Gakuro heard from the conversation and decided to see what would happen next. One of the older students put a couple of coins on his desk and told Zeno to go buy lunch for him and his friends. Lunch for 3 people. The girls who were in the classroom and witnessed this conversation began to whisper among themselves that the leader of the high school company was trying to find a servant on the first day of school. The guy kept laughing at Zeno. He told him that 60 yen would be enough for Zeno, and if he didn't like something, he could get mad at Zeno. Unexpectedly, Zeno replied to the guys, "What's the matter? You bastards aren't able to buy your own lunch?" The students in the room, Gakuro among them, turned their heads in surprise towards Zeno. Gakuro became seriously worried about Zeno. One of the older students suggested that Zeno might just be afraid to go alone. The thought swept through the students that something bad was about to happen. The older students pressed Zeno and asked him to go to lunch with them. The seniors continued to press Zeno. Gakuro felt afraid. He had never interfered in high school squabbles and tried to be inconspicuous, but suddenly, Gakuro approached a group of high school students and offered to help them. Gakuro said he could go get the lunches himself, instead of Zeno. Zeno looked at Gakuro in surprise. The 3 seniors turned their attention away from bullying Zeno and turned their attention to Gakuro. Gakuro walked out of the school cafeteria with a bag containing lunches. Gakuro caught up with Zeno in the hallway. Zeno offered to pay Gakuro for the rest of the seniors' lunch and Gakuro's own lunch. Gakuro politely declined Zeno's help. Zeno had insisted. He felt grateful to Gakuro. Then Zeno told Gakuro that he was weird, because he took the role of a lackey on himself. Gakuro didn't know what to say. Gakuro quickly said goodbye to Zeno and headed in the other direction. Gakuro didn't take the money Zeno offered him. Gakuro's behavior surprised Zeno. Gakuro walked down the hallway and thought about the embarrassing situation that he had put Zeno in. Gakuro also thought about how he should act more naturally when helping others. Black creatures were spreading around the school, taking the shape of scary faces. The school children didn't notice them, but the creatures followed them. These beings, invisible to humans, are called spirits. They sense human emotions, just like fear or sadness, and become attached to them. The only way to avoid them was to live quietly and peacefully. As he walked up the stairs, Gakuro heard a rumbling sound. It sounded like something had broken. For as long as Gakuro could remember, he was the only one who could see the beings. So, he was shunned and considered strange. Even if Gakuro couldn't see the beings, the problem with communicating with humans would still be there. Pondering to himself, suddenly Gakuro saw a broken Iofuda mask on the floor. He realized he heard the sound of the mask shattering. There was now half of the mask hanging on the wall, making it look intimidating. Gakuro decided to eat on the roof. He turned the handle of the door that led to the attic of the school and entered the room. Opening the door, Gakuro saw a multitude of black beings that reached the ceiling. They intertwined with each other and opened their mouths like black abysses. Gakuro took a step back and wanted to close the door back. But at that moment, the beings burst out of the attic and swept Gakuro off his feet. Gakuro was horrified. There are so many spirits? The last time Gakuro had seen so many spirits was when his dad died. Gakuro began to remember his childhood. Even then, he had seen the inhabitants of the netherworld. One day, when Gakuro was a child, his father was unable to deal with one of the beings. It happened in front of Gakuro's eyes. Suddenly, a girl in a black cloak appeared in the room. She apologized to Gakuro and said that he had a bad time. Gakuro was surprised to see a girl who dwells among spirits in the attic of the school. With the girl's appearance, the spirits disappeared. Gakuro was surprised by this. The girl hurriedly explained to Gakuro that she sometimes gathers all the spirits of the school to purify them. The girl looked nice and pleasant. She asked Gakuro if he was hurt. Gakuro was mesmerized by the girl's beauty. He realized that the girl standing in front of him was a spirit. Gakuro immediately sensed that she was far worse than the spirit that had killed his father. However, the girl didn't look hostile, and Gakuro was reassured by that. The spirit girl offered to help Gakuro and showed concern for him. The spirit girl told Gakuro that she had been waiting for this moment for a very long time. It had been 60 years since man had discovered this room. Gakuro was surprised, because he thought this door was the exit to the roof. The spirit girl introduced herself as Nue. She said she was sealed in this room. She can't leave this room. Nue offered Gakuro to keep her company. Gakuro agreed. In the attic, Gakuro and Nue were playing a game console. Nue had been playing the console alone for 60 years and had acquired unique skills. Playing with Nue, Gakuro saw that she was a real nerd. Nue was grateful to Gakuro for entertaining her. Nue told Gakuro that he made her happy. She noted that Gakuro is a very brave guy, since he was able to overcome his fear and go inside the room. However, as much as she would like to, she can't hold Gakuro by force. Gakuro felt sorry for Nue. He couldn't imagine what it would be like to spend 60 years alone. Nue looked at Gakuro with admiration. She had rarely met such kind people. Nue told Gakuro that despite seeing spirits, he shouldn't lose his temper. Nu began to ask Gakuro about his affairs at school. She asked him if he had become a servant or something like that. Gakuro honestly told her that he had become a servant to a group of high school students today. Nue told Gakuro that there are always a lot of spirits around the school. They become even more numerous when people are in a bad mood. Gakuro wondered, is there something wrong with this school? Nu told him that this school was special. She was sealed here. Nu is the reason why there are so many spirits here. So she is grateful to Gakuro for not increasing their numbers, but it is very difficult to keep people from fighting each other. Therefore, the number of spirits in the school does not decrease. And when the spirits gather in a group, they become visible to ordinary people. Nu added that if that happened, the spirits would have the power to kill people. Nui suggested that perhaps Gakuro had seen something like this before. Gakuro sank back into the terrible memories of his childhood. Nue added that it was more relevant now than ever since her shackles had weakened. Such spirits would likely become even stronger. Suddenly, Nue took Gakuro by the shoulder and asked if he wanted her to give him her power. Then he could deal with the spirits instead of her. Gakuro was frightened. He said he couldn't do it. Nue persisted in convincing Gakuro that he could do it. Then Gakuro told Nue that his dad was killed by a spirit right before his eyes. That's why he can't find the strength to fight them. A shiver ran down Gakuro's body. Nue looked at Gakuro in silence. She was disappointed. She felt sorry for Gakuro, but she couldn't make him fight. 3 high school students were sitting in the auditorium eating lunch. One of them said that Gakuro was a good guy, because he even paid for most of their lunch. Zeno was sitting at the next desk, eating his lunch. He heard the conversation between the high school students. Zeno said aloud that not many people offer themselves as slaves. Gakuro would spend his whole worthless life being a tool for others. The high school students laughed at Zeno's words. Then one of them announced that everyone should make good use of their new instrument. Yajima. Hearing those words, Zeno abruptly got up from his seat and walked over to the high school student. Zeno ordered him to close his mouth. He then grabbed the high school student by his shirt and prepared to punish him for his long tongue. After lunch, Gakuro returned to the auditorium. When he entered the room, he saw Zeno sitting on the floor. Zeno was battered and undressed. He was wearing only his underwear. The older students laughed at Zeno. The other students watched silently, afraid to intervene. One of the seniors told Gakuro that Zeno had decided to stand up for him and had fought with him. Now they wanted to deal with Gakuro as well. One of the seniors ordered Gakuro to approach them. Gakuro was scared. From the overabundance of negative emotions, many spirits gathered in the room and swirled between the students. Gakuro didn't understand why things had turned out this way. All he wanted was for no one to get hurt. Gakuro began to persuade the high school students to resolve things peacefully. Yajima was trembling with fear. Gakuro's politeness irritated Zeno. When Gakuro approached the bullies, one of them swung his fist at Gakuro and wanted to hit him. At this moment, Nu felt that the number of spirits in the school would rapidly increase. She realized that everything was happening too fast. Nu didn't come to life that the creature would become so large. Suddenly, the bully's hand disappeared. Inexplicable things began to happen in the auditorium. Furniture flew into the air and fell to the floor with a crash. An unknown force threw the students in different directions. The school children began to scatter in different directions in terror. The bully was dripping blood. A bleeding wound appeared on the place where his hand had been. The blood was flying in different directions. Gakuro stood there and calmly watched everything that was happening. A female creature appeared in the middle of the room. The creature's face was covered with rags. The creature walked calmly across the room, and chaos reigned around it. In the midst of this madness, the screams of a bully who felt unbearable pain could be heard. Gakuro videoed the creature. Then he thought that the creature might be a cluster of spirits. It wasn't just Gakuro who saw the creature now. All the students were looking at it in horror. The bully who had just lost one arm was screaming for help. The bully's friends also saw the creature. One of them gasped in fear. They wouldn't help their friend and stepped into battle with the creature. The bully's friends were rushing around the auditorium, saving their lives. The creature was heading towards one of the bullies. Gakuro realized that the bully was about to die. The creature grabbed the bully. Gakuro couldn't believe that the man was about to die in front of him, just like his father. His father's last words were a plea to live with dignity. After all, Gakuro is a strong guy. Gakuro remembered his father lying in a pool of blood and reaching for him. How much pain the spirit had brought him. Gakuro realized he had to do something. He couldn't let his father down, but Gakuro stood there in a daze. He couldn't stop shaking and couldn't make a single movement. Gakuro gathered all his strength to rush to the man's aid. Suddenly, Zeno rushed to the bully's aid. He wrenched the boy from the creature's grasp. Zeno and the bully collapsed to the floor. Gakuro, who had never been able to pull himself together and find the strength to help the man, looked at Zeno, stunned. Zeno was furious. He yelled for everyone to get out of the auditorium. Zeno told Gakuro and the bully to get out of here. Zeno decided to stay behind to be bait for the creature and give his classmates a chance to escape. Gakuro couldn't believe his ears. He didn't understand why Zeno had decided to do this. Zeno was sure of his decision. He would sacrifice himself. Gakuro stared at Zeno in silence. He couldn't take a step again. His soul wouldn't accept what he was seeing. He had to stop Zeno. Then the creature attacked Zeno. The creature grabbed a chair and threw it at Zeno with great force. Zeno flew off and hit the wall. His mouth and nose were bleeding. Yajima thought back to his father. He was afraid to go through it again. His father's death had taught him never to cross the stronger man. So he always tried to be quiet. He tried to be more peaceful, never arguing with those who were stronger than him. Looking at Zeno, the weak, harmless, bespectacled man who had been the laughingstock of the world for years. Gakuro didn't understand how this man could have such a strong character. Gakuro was the kind of person who would never hurt others. Gakuro was horrified to see the aftermath of the creature's deeds. The bodies of people were scattered all over the auditorium. One of the bullies was lying on the floor in a pool of blood, missing an arm. Now Yajima felt the same fear and numbness as his father was dying before his eyes. Dad didn't give up. He defeated the spirit at the cost of his life. Father was proud that he had taught his son a lesson in bravery and courage in the last moments of his life. His father had protected Gakuro. His father was damn strong, and he himself knew it. Zeno sat on the floor. His soul clung to his wounded body with its last strength. The creature would not let him go. Zeno looked at the creature with a calm and accepting gaze. If you're not strong enough, you don't get to decide. Father and Zeno are strong. Therefore, they were capable of making choices for themselves as well as for others. Suddenly, those thoughts turned Gakuro's fear into anger. He too wanted to be strong, to choose a path for himself. A path where neither he nor others would suffer. Why? Because I'm a coward, Gakuro thought. The creature prepared to deliver the final blow to Zeno. Gakuro rushed towards it and covered it with his body. Gakuro took the creature's attack. When Gakuro was struck by the creature's blow, his eyes met Zeno's. They understood each other without words. A gaping, bleeding wound appeared on Gakuro's back. Zeno asked Gakuro why he did it. Why didn't he save himself? Gakuro only apologized to Zeno. He apologized for his weakness, for not being able to do anything even though he should have. Gakuro told Zeno that he just wanted to become stronger. He wanted to become the strong guy who could go out of his way to save the others. Zeno listened to Gakuro in amazement. But besides Gakuro's words, another thing struck Zeno. Behind Gakuro's back was no longer a deadly creature. Behind him stood the spirit girl, Nu. She had heard Gakuro's words. She liked those words. Then she repeated her offer to Gakuro. If he really wanted what he was talking about now, then she could train him for it. Gakuro was shocked by Nue's sudden appearance. He was ready to give up his life. Nue apologized to Gakuro for coming too late. Nue then told Gakuro that the appearance he sees of her is just a part of her spirit that she had hooked onto Gakuro's shoulder. And now it would have to be a while before she could use that part. So until then, Nue can only observe Gakuro. Nu noted that Gakuro and Zeno were full of courage. She was impressed by their courage. Nu healed Gakuro's wounds. Gakuro and Zeno looked at Nue warily. Then Nue said that this part of her might not be so much. All Nue can do for the guys now is either guarantee their safety or give them power. What will be their choice? It would be up to them. Nue playfully flicked Gakuro on the nose, as if they didn't have this nightmare around them. Without thinking, Gakuro fell to his knees in front of Nue and asked her for strength. Gakuro decided firmly to himself that he needed the strength to overpower this spirit. Nue was satisfied with Gakuro's answer. After receiving Gakuro's consent, Nu vanished into thin air. She turned into a black spirit, and the creature reappeared in the room. The spirit told Gakuro that his existence would become harder from now on, so he should try his best. In return, the spirit promised Gakuro something. The spirit promised Gakuro to raise him into the strongest warrior capable of saving everyone. Zeno watched Gakuro in silence. Suddenly, Gakuro's body began to change. He began to transform into the creature that had tried to kill him moments ago. 2 swords appeared on his belt, one black and one white. Gakuro watched his transformation in horror, but there was nothing he could do. Zeno tried to stop Gakuro, but he didn't know how. The creature watched Gakuro. Then the creature attacked Gakuro. It directed a stream of black energy at Gakuro. Gakuro fought back. Now he had the strength to resist the evil spirit. Zeno looked at Gakuro with admiration. In front of his eyes, Gakuro used one hand to block the creature's blow that had destroyed the entire class. Nue stood by the window and silently watched the battle between Gakuro and the powerful spirit. Gakuro was confused. He began to ask Nue for help. How should he use this power? Gakuro waited for Nue to give him an answer. Nu then calmly replied to Gakuro that he could get a sword first. Gakuro drew his black sword from its sheath. Nue told Gakuro that the sword had gotten too strong and he shouldn't use too much power. However, Gakuro was no longer listening to Nue. He was ruled by rage. Gakuro sliced the creature in 2 with a single sword strike, shattering the wall of the auditorium in the process. Gakuro himself was frightened by the power of his sword. He and Zeno froze in horror and admiration. Nue continued to watch Gakuro. She noted that Gakuro was quite a talented warrior, and she didn't regret the time she had spent on him. Gakuro looked at the consequences of his rage and the possibilities of his power. It was the moment he realized there was no turning back. At that moment, Gakuro Yajima felt that a great responsibility had been placed on his shoulders. Zeno happily ran up to Gakuro and started praising him. How cool that was. Gakuro didn't hear Zeno. He was able to. This rad, unlike usual, Gakuro didn't run away and surrendered. The next day, Gakuro Yajima came to study. It was business as usual. Gakuro walked into his classroom. There were no repercussions of yesterday's chaos. The students were going about their business. Gakuro was surprised to see the high school student he saw yesterday with his arm cut off. Today he was fine and didn't remember anything. Gakuro couldn't understand what was going on, and why no one besides him remembered the events of yesterday. The company of high school students had sent Gakuro out to get lunches for them again. It was strange for Gakuro to see a high school student with a whole arm. Just yesterday, it was lying separate from his body. Gakuro himself couldn't fully remember all the events that had happened yesterday. Yajima obediently followed his classmates' orders. At recess, he brought them their lunches. Returning from the dining room down the hallway, Gakuro was called out by a girl. It was Nue. She didn't look like an ancient spirit now. She looked like a normal schoolgirl. Nue asked Gakuro what he was doing. Was he running errands? Gakuro was struck by Nue's image. Nue explained to him that it was just her clone. She can only walk around campus when Gakuro is at school. All of this was made possible by her meeting with Gakuro. Looking at Nue in her schoolgirl uniform, Gakuro thought to himself that she really does have monstrous powers. Gakuro asked Nue if she had restored the auditorium, cured the students, and erased their memories. Nu shyly denied her involvement. Nue replied to Gakuro that it was the work of the Exorcists. Up until that point, she had been the only one defending this school, but eventually she had come to the rescue. Nu added that what makes this town special is that it is simply crawling with spirits. Exorcists work in secret to keep the spirits within the city. Gakuro was stunned by this information, but Nue didn't say anything more about it. He suggested that Gakuro play a game. Gakuro had to go to the auditorium because he might need the company of high school students. But suddenly he thought about the fact that Nue was more important to him than they were. Gakuro thought of Nue as his savior. He didn't want to upset her. Then he remembered Nue's words from yesterday that he should make his own choices and should think with his own head. Then Gakuro decided that now he had to prove himself. He wouldn't listen to his classmates. He's not afraid of them anymore. Nue didn't wait for Gakuro to answer. She grabbed his arm and dragged him behind her. Deep down, Gakuro was grateful to Nue for her determination and persistence. Nue and Gakuro played card games. Nue was better at it than the others. Gakuro lost to her all the time. They were having fun. Nue liked to win. Gakuro asked her to give in to him a little. Nue replied to him that she would not give in, and it was childish. She told the story of how long ago she lost a friend because she gave in to him. So now she doesn't intend to lose on purpose. Gakuro was surprised that Nue was so good at playing card games and that she had tons of manga and anime on hand. Nue replied to him that she liked the recreational culture created by humans. Then it was as if it hit Gakuro. It looked like Nue wanted to protect people to keep this culture alive. Nu confirmed his hunch. But that wasn't her only goal. Nu confessed that she likes people. Therefore, she is very grateful to Gakuro. Nue informed Gakuro that yesterday, the object that the spirits were flying to had broken. The object was a mask. The spirit's activity had reached its limit. Nu speculated that the school would soon experience a sharp increase in spirit activity. Gakuro asked her if she could count on the exorcists for help in that case. Nue replied that exorcists have a shortage of carders, so they won't respond to requests for help right away. That's why Nue wants Gakuro to purify the spirits that appear on campus. But even for that purpose, the power can't be used repeatedly. Nue stated that for that reason, there would have to be no fighting today. She suggested that Gakuro forget about his abilities and her spirit for a while, and just enjoy school life. Gakuro was confused. Would Nue really come to their class? He was embarrassed about his position among his classmates. Nu replied that it would be their secret. Nu asked Gakuro to introduce her to her classmates as his older sister. No one was to know about them. Gakuro walked back into the auditorium. He was absolutely mortified and expected trouble. In the classroom, the students were discussing Yajima and his new girlfriend that he was holding hands with in the hallway of the school. The students were asking Gakuro who the hottie was. Gakuro was startled by such attention. He didn't know how to answer their questions. Suddenly, Gakuro thought about the fact that the students might know his and Nue's secret. Gakuro told his classmates that this girl was his sister, but he and she are of different blood. This news got the guys excited. They discussed how hot she was. Zeno was especially fascinated by Yajima's sister. The guys who hadn't seen Yajima's sister with their own eyes began to wonder if she was really as hot as others were telling them. One of the bullies, namely the one who had his arm cut off by the creature yesterday, asked Yajima to introduce him to his sister. Gakuro became worried. Then he couldn't keep lying and said he was just her ward. The classmates didn't understand what Yajima meant. Nue appeared in the classroom to help Gakuro. All the students immediately forgot about Gakuro and stared at Nue. Nue brought Gakuro a deck of cards and told him that he had forgotten it. The boys were stunned. They thought about how beautiful Gakuro's sister was and how much she cared for him. Nue walked up to her classmate Gakuro and said that she was glad that they got along with her brother. It was that Yokomchi Ganza who was considered the strongest among the bullies. He was always coming up with different ways to bully the others. He was the one who lost his arm yesterday, but today he's fine, but his heart was broken. He was stunned and looked at Nue with loving eyes. His self-confidence vanished at once, and he couldn't say a word. All the students were dazzled by Nue's beauty. She completely took over the class without even raising her fist. Nue was pleased with this kind of attention from the guys. Nue's appearance really changed the mood of the class for the better. Perhaps there wouldn't be any spirits gathering here now. At that moment, the thought popped into Gakuro's mind that Nue had done it on purpose, in order to reconcile the students and reduce the spirits' activity. The teacher came into the classroom and asked everyone to take their seats. The teacher looked unusual today, but he wasn't like himself. The students were whispering amongst themselves. Perhaps Hamamoto-sensei hadn't had time to rest. Everyone noticed his fearful face. Gakuro realized that the teacher was possessed by a spirit. Hamamoto-sensei noticed Nue and began to act strangely. He asked her who she was. Nu apologized and wanted to answer, but suddenly Hamamoto-sensei lost his temper. He started yelling at Nue and demanded that she answer. "Who the hell are you?" The teacher threw himself at Nue. The students got excited. They were afraid for Nue and wanted to protect her. Hamamoto-sensei reached his hands out to Nue and yelled to tell her what she was. Gakuro looked at him silently and realized that the teacher had no power to hurt Nue. But Gakuro had to protect her. After all, the students thought she was his sister. Gakuro jumped on Hamamoto-sensei and pushed him away from Nue. Nue was shocked by Gakuro's behavior. At that moment, Gakuro was thinking that no matter how strong Nue was, he must become stronger. He must overcome his fear. The students were pleasantly surprised. They had never seen Gakuro Yajima so bold. He looked like the most caring brother. Zeno rushed to Gakuro's side to help. It was clear to all the students that something was wrong with Hamamoto. The teacher was behaving like a man possessed. He had inhuman strength and was raring to attack Nue. All the boys in the class rushed to pull Hamamoto away from the beautiful Nue. Everyone wanted to show her their strength and courage. The students began pushing Hamamoto against the wall to block his movements. The teacher could no longer resist. Under the pressure of a dozen students, the glass cracked and Hamamoto fell out of the window. Gakuro fell to the ground with him. While falling, Gakuro released his power and summoned a spirit that took possession of the teacher's body. Then a spirit came out of Hamamoto's body and did battle with Gakuro. The disciples could not see this because they were under a curse. A battle broke out between Gakuro and the evil spirit. The teacher continued to fly downward. While the students were blinded, Nu flew up and down to the ground. There she grabbed Hamamoto's tie. It didn't break. The spirit would be defeated. When it was over, the students could see again. They were delighted that Hamamoto-sensei and Gakuro were unharmed. In addition, the teacher had returned to his consciousness and was now behaving as usual. The classmates were stunned by Yajima. His jump with Hamamoto was impressive indeed. Only the bullies continued to mock Gakuro. They called him a weirdo who liked being a servant. Gakuro felt weak. Now, after his battle with the spirit, he had given all his strength. Gakuro couldn't stand on his feet. Nue supported him and told him he needed to rest. When Gakuro regained consciousness, he saw Nue in front of him. She was no longer in her school uniform, but in her usual spirit girl guise. Gakuro tried to stand up, but his body wouldn't obey him. Nue explained that his strength was being restored now. She put his head in her lap and said that he needed to rest. His recoil was too great, so every time Gakuro would use his power, he would recover that way. Gakuro was confused and didn't know what to say back. Nue was very close to Gakuro. He had never had such close contact with a girl before. Gakuro couldn't relax. Nue was sorry that Gakuro had to use that power again, but he did the best he could. Gakuro worried. Was he really trying his best? He was still doubting himself. He thought about the fact that if Nue wasn't there for him today, it probably wouldn't have worked out. Gakuro tormented himself with doubts. Perhaps he could do better, but he was reassured by Nue's pleasant scent. One day, to dispel Gakuro's doubts, Nue told him that if someone is possessed by spirits, Gakuro has a duty to help them. Since then, Gakuro Yajima has been on the path of destroying spirits and helping people. But yesterday, Gakuro met a girl on the street who was possessed by spirits. Gakuro saw a black spirit following the girl he didn't know. But at the most crucial moment, Gakuro chickened out. That's when Nue looked at him for the first time with disgust. Gakuro didn't know how to behave, how to approach a girl on the street, how to let her know that she needed help. Gakuro stood on the road and stared silently after the possessed girl. Then Gakuro decided that the time had come. He had to do everything in his power now. Gakuro gathered his howls into a fist, ran after the girl and shouted at her. The girl stopped and looked at Gakuro. Outwardly, she looked like a normal schoolgirl and acted calm. Gakuro asked her how she was feeling. And does she have any strange feelings? The girl's answer surprised Gakuro. She honestly admitted that she felt terrible. She tearfully begged Gakuro to get that black thing away from her. She could see it and feel it. Gakuro reassured the girl and told her he could help her. It wasn't difficult. Gakuro easily destroyed the spirit, freeing the girl. The girl was happy. She thanked Gakuro. Gakuro was about to go about his business when the girl stopped him. She recognized Gakuro, who went to the same school as her. The girl asked him to have lunch with her. Gakuro wasn't used to attention from a girl. It made him very uncomfortable, but he agreed. Nu saw that. She thought about the fact that Gakuro was finally living the normal life of a teenager. This is the beginning of his adolescence. Gakuro and Nue continued to spend a lot of time together. Gakuro was afraid of offending Nue, and she valued his trust. Nue then asked Gakuro how he was doing with the girl he had helped today. It seemed to Nue that Gakuro was very interested in her. Gakuro began to make excuses. He couldn't believe that some girl could pay attention to him. Nue was surprised by Gakuro's low self-esteem. The topic of relationships with girls was a painful one for him. Nue wanted to give Gakuro confidence in himself. She told him once again that he could become stronger if he continued on the path he had set himself on. At recess, Gakuro went to the cafeteria to eat lunch. The girl he had helped on the street today came up to him. The girl was happy to see Gakuro. She asked what he liked to eat. The girl and Gakuro were eating ramen. Gakuro didn't know how to act. He was trying to finish his ramen at the same time as the girl. He couldn't relax. Communicating with the girl proved to be as mentally difficult as fighting the spirits. Suddenly, the girl suggested that Gakuro start an occult club together. Gakuro was stunned by this suggestion. Gakuro took the offer as the girl's desire to continue their relationship. The girl explained to him that she likes occult things. He sees them the same way Gakuro does. Gakuro realized that this was a good thing. He replied to the girl that it was dangerous for her to see spirits. Suddenly, Gakuro heard his own voice agreeing with the girl's suggestion. The girl and Gakuro looked at each other in surprise. The girl was surprised that Gakuro had agreed to her proposal so quickly, and Gakuro couldn't realize who was speaking in his voice instead. The girl was happy. Gakuro still stood stunned. Who was speaking in his voice? It was then that he noticed Nue. She was standing behind his back. Nu sat at the table surrounded by her classmates. She had already made them her friends. Nu told everyone about the formation of the occult club and invited everyone to participate. Nu did this on purpose. She had long wanted to create a place to help those who were troubled by spirits. Ordinary people couldn't get into her attic room, so she decided to create such a place for people. The girl couldn't wait for her next meeting with Gakuro. Nu noted to herself that the girl was a rather nice girl. Despite her lack of experience, Gakuro had good taste. Gakuro relied on Nue. If Nue decided they needed an occult club, then he would support her. The girl wasn't just excited about the creation of the occult club. Gakuro seemed cute and funny to her. She noticed that Gakuro appreciated her beauty. She liked that. The attention of the hot beauty struck Gakuro in the heart and disarmed him. It was like fighting the strongest and most evil spirit. Nue noticed Gakuro's confusion. She thought about how the warrior's path would make Gakuro stronger, not only as a spirit fighter, but also as a man. After class, the girl went to pick up Gakuro. Walking around the school, the girl told Gakuro that there were a lot of empty classrooms in the school right now. Gakuro was stunned. What did she mean? The girl explained that they could take any available room to organize an occult club there. They needed more people to apply for the club. Gakuro was surprised at how his fate had turned. Now he is not afraid to take responsibility and take all the problems on himself. The girl was very excited about the news of the club's formation. Gakuro and the girl chose one of the school's empty classrooms. The girl was grateful to Gakuro for coming up to her and freeing her from the spirit, and for having the courage to help her and fight the spirit. Gakuro replied to the girl that it wasn't hard to overcome the spirit that had possessed the girl this morning. But Gakuro's left arm was hurting. It must be some sort of curse. The girl was amazed that knowing the danger of this spirit, Gakuro still dared to help her. A wound had formed on Gakuro's left arm. The girl noticed it. The girl confesses to Gakuro that she invited him to meet her and suggested he start an occult club with her because he's awesome. Gakuro couldn't believe his ears. Girls had never said such words to him before. The girl and Gakuro continued to look around the school's rooms, opening the doors of one of the classrooms. A spirit flew out at Gakuro and the girl. The spirit reached for the girl and enveloped her. Gakuro went into attack mode. Gakuro pushed the girl away and began to fight the spirit. The girl looked at her hero with admiration, having defeated the spirit. Gakuro felt a surge of strength and confidence, feeling strong and brave. He confessed to the girl that he felt happy because she had invited him to a meeting, and he would love to form an occult club with her. The girl suggested choosing this classroom to organize the club, since it was now free of spirits. Gakuro felt Nue's presence in the room. Suddenly, the girl asked Gakuro what he knew about exorcists. They are only in this city. At that moment, Gakuro heard Nue's voice telling him that most of the exorcists in this city belonged to the security service. They are limited to this location since there are many spirits here. That's why if Gakuro is lucky enough to meet a good exorcist, he should befriend him. Nu noted that Gakuro really had an eye for girls. The girl introduced herself as Kazusa Suo. She works as an exorcist. The Omeji have been fighting spirits for over 1,000 years, so there are almost no spirits left in Japan, but many spirits still appear here in the city of Kagaria. Thanks to memory modification and other techniques, no one notices, but the Omeji have set up an agency in the city and protect people from spirits even today. One of these Omeji was Kazusa Suo. Kazusa confessed to Gakuro that she had invited him to the club to investigate something. She asked Gakuro if he knew anything about the previous spirit attack in the freshman class. Gakuro understood what Kazusa was talking about. Kazusa added that Gakuro shouldn't have known about this incident because the Omeji should have erased his memory. However, it didn't matter anymore. Kazusa decided to keep Gakuro's memory. Next, Kazusa said that the problem was that the spirit was defeated before the Omeji arrived. Then Kazusa asked Gakuro bluntly if it was his doing. Gakuro confirmed Kazusa's speculation. She asked him if he was the one who had been defeating spirits all this time throughout this school. Gakuro admitted that he was. Kazusa wasn't hiding anything from Gakuro anymore. She admitted that she had purposely used that spirit to get Gakuro's attention because she knew he would help her. Kazusa was fascinated by Gakuro. He asked him how did he get such power. Gakuro was silent, going over different answers in his head. It was Nue who came to Gakuro's rescue. She suddenly entered the room. Kazusa looked at Nue with surprise. Nue introduced herself as Gakuro's sister, and introduced herself with Sayako's made-up name. Nue apologized for interrupting their conversation. Kazusa was surprised that Gakuro had a sister, also so beautiful. Nue whispered in Gakuro's ear that he should call her Sayako. Since Nue is a spirit, the Omeji don't like her. Nue prompts Gakuro to tell Kazusi that he was just born with this power. Kazusa accepted Gakuro's answer. Nue asked what the two of them were doing at this time here in the empty auditorium. Kazusa told her that they were trying to start an occult club. Nue made a delighted look and suggested that Kazusa become the leader of the club. Nue left the boys alone. But before she left, she suggested they look on the 3rd floor, because there might be spirits there. There had long been rumors around the school about sounds coming from the 3rd floor or the west wing. But isn't that floor empty? Kazusa explained that this school had many more classrooms than needed. Kazusa prepared herself for a possible battle with the spirits and put on her work uniform. Gakuro asked her what she did to make her clothes look like that. Kazusa was surprised by Gakuro's question about her spirit gear. Couldn't he do the same? Kazusa added that this is the first technique the Omeji learn. This clothing prevents people from seeing the Omeji, which makes their job easier. Gakuro didn't know about it. Now Kazusa realized that Gakuro was completely new to this and decided to support him. She took his hand. Kazusa pulled Gakuro to the 3rd floor. She told him to conserve his strength because he had already fought twice today. While Kazusa held Gakuro's hand, other people couldn't see the two of them. The chance of drawing people's attention was quite high since the 3rd floor of the West Wing is closed to entry. Gakuro was embarrassed. He could feel his palms sweating and was embarrassed about it. He asked to let go of his hand if Kazusa got grossed out, but she only smiled at him as she continued to squeeze his palm tightly. Gakuro admitted to Kazusa that he was nervous, but she was amused by it. They were almost there when a spirit appeared in their path. Kazusa stopped. She, as an experienced Omeji, immediately realized that it was a level 2 spirit. Gakuro couldn't understand what that meant, since he hadn't studied the classification of creatures. Kazusa explained to Gakuro that when 16 or more first-level spirits combine, they form a second-level spirit. The creature then takes the form of human body parts and hides them. Since ordinary people can see them, these spirits gain the ability to cause physical pain to humans. There are not many spirits that can unite, so the second level is rarely seen. Gakuro listened to Kazusa and watched the spirit, which was a clump of fused human limbs, with horror. If it was as Kazusa said, it was frightening to imagine what the spirit was capable of. The creature approached Gakuro and Kazusa with incredible speed. Suddenly, Gakuro found himself in the arms of Kazusa, who was floating in the air. She explained that the creature specialized in fast movements. She was worried about Gakuro. He thanked Kazusa for his concern and said he could take care of himself. Kazusa realized that Gakuro had no experience fighting creatures of that level. Therefore, she didn't let it out of her grasp. A struggle began between Kazusa and the creature. Kazusa, holding Gakuro in her arms, dodged the spirit's attacks. Gakuro tried to break free from Kazusa's grip, to show her how he could fight the spirits. But Kazusa wouldn't let him do that. She saw that Gakuro had little strength left. She told him to rest and just observe. After several failed attempts to attack Kazusa, the creature turned around and headed in the opposite direction. Gakuro was afraid that the creature would scamper off and go wherever there were people. Kazusa then put Gakuro on her feet and rushed to attack. She charged at the spirit like lightning. No one had ever seen Gakuro move at such a speed before. Kazusa grabbed the spirit and began to strike it repeatedly. The spirit shrieked and stood up to its full height. The creature was heading for the stairs that led to the floors of the school where there might be people. It had to be stopped at all costs. Kazusa caught up to the creature incredibly fast. So much so that you could hear the whistling sound of her movements. They continued to fight on the stairs. Kazusa blocked its path. She struck the spirit with one blow and pushed it off the stairs. Gakuro couldn't keep track of Kazusa's movements. What kind of techniques does she use? Now Gakuro decided to show her what he could do. Gakuro swooped at the spirit from the side, knocking it to the ground. He powerful wave of Gakuro's punch. The spirit shattered the window and flew through the window into the street. Kazusa hadn't expected this. He didn't give Gakuro any instructions. Gakuro jumped out of the window, following the spirit. In the air, he continued to attack the spirit. Kazusa watched their battle from the window. She was hesitant to jump from the 3rd floor. She wondered if Gakuro would catch her. Trusting her partner, Kazusa jumped in. With one sword stroke, Gakuro chopped the spirit into 2 pieces. The spirit was defeated. A few hours after the battle, there was a meeting going on in the Omeji's office. Kazusa spoke of her discovery, about a student named Gakuro Yajima who, due to his innate power, fights spirits. The head Omeji had heard of such people and allowed their existence, but he was concerned about the sudden increase in the number of spirits in the safe zone. What could be the cause of this phenomenon? The chief Omeji decides that reinforcements must be sent. But with the Omeji facing a labor shortage, they can't spare enough manpower. Kazusa then suggested that the Omeji and Gakuro Yajima join forces. The head Omeji was taken aback by Kazusa's proposal. She had always worked alone, and now she wanted to be someone's partner. Kazusa praised Gakuro. She believed that they were compatible and the results of their work would be amazing. So, she had managed to convince the head Omeji of that. Kazusa informed Gakuro that they were now partners. She was overjoyed about it. Gakuro didn't understand what it meant, but agreed with everything Kazusa said. Nue was pleased with the union of Gakuro and Kazusa. She felt that the Omeji of this generation were undoubtedly strong, and she was content to be able to appreciate their abilities. They are trying their best, These thoughts eased Nue's soul. Nue was amused that it had been 3 days since she had met Kazusa, and Gakuro still hadn't exchanged phone numbers with her. Gakuro was lying on Nue's lap and recovering his energy. Nue insisted that Gakuro be more open with Kazusa. He was embarrassed by this conversation and didn't want to continue it. Today was to be the first meeting of the occult club. Gakuro came to study. In the auditorium, Zeno approached him. Zeno shared his joy with Gakuro. Today was the first time he had spoken to Shinozane-senpai. Gakuro wasn't familiar with this girl. Zeno told him that Shinozane-senpai was one of the 3 goddesses of the northern school. Gakuro was told by her classmates that there are 3 hotties in this school who can make any man look at them without taking his eyes off them. And so far, not a single guy had dared to start an affair with one of the 3 beauties. The students loved these girls so much that they nicknamed them the 3 goddesses. Gakuro was informed by his disciples that, since his sister started gaining popularity, it seems that there will soon be 4 goddesses. The other 2 goddesses are Kagura-senpai and Suo-senpai. Gakuro was embarrassed by this popularity of the girls around him. At this moment, Kazusa Suo walked into the auditorium and shouted, "Come here!" The guys in the class were shocked. They all stared at Kazusa in silence. The boys began to wonder who Kazusa was calling. Each of them wished it was him she was calling. Kazusa hurriedly dispelled their speculation. He said she had come to see Gakuro Yajima. She added that his sister wanted to tell him that they would be waiting for him in the clubroom. Silence reigned in the auditorium. Every guy wondered what these beauties found in Gakuro. On his lunch break, Gakuro headed to the dining room. There, Kazusa was waiting for him. She motioned for Gakuro to sit beside her. Gakuro was surprised. "Where's Nue?" Kazusa explained that she had told an untruth in the audience. She was embarrassed to announce to everyone that she was inviting Gakuro to a meeting. Instead, she said that his sister had called him. Gakuro wasn't surprised by that. Kazusa was going to talk to Gakuro about what they were going to do today. Gakuro remembered Nue's words that he needed to take Kazusa's contacts. He couldn't make up his mind to do it. Gakuro decided he would do it now. He began to spew out incoherent speech. Kazusa interrupted Gakuro. She announced that they would be patrolling the school building today. It's the only thing they can do for now. It seems like more and more people are getting possessed lately, so a patrol is a good idea. Gakuro agreed with Kazusa's plan. After class, the school building emptied out. Kazusa and Gakuro met up and went on patrol through the school hallways. They started on the first floor. Gakuro asked Kazusa if she intended to use her spirit gear to keep people from seeing them. Kazusa replied that it was a waste of time. Gakuro frankly asked Kazusa if she was afraid of the rumors that might arise from their patrolling. Kazusa wasn't bothered by such trivialities. She informed Gakuro that she had experience in dealing with such problems, and she knows what to do to refute such rumors. Gakuro shouldn't worry about that either. Walking through the school's classrooms, they discovered a small spirit. With a flick of her finger, Kazusa destroyed it. The spirit burst like a small soap bubble. The next day, all the students started asking Gakuro if he really went on a date with Suo-senpai. Gakuro was shocked. How could they know about what he and Kazusa had been doing yesterday? His mind was racing with thoughts of what he should answer his classmates' questions. Then he remembered Kazusa's words that everything would be fine, and she would solve these problems. Kazusa, too, had reached these rumors. Even yesterday she was talking smartly about how she knew what to do to disprove such rumors. Today she was panicking. She was screaming to be killed. What a shame. Gakuro tried to explain to everyone that it was just a misunderstanding. It was his fault. The situation was out of control. Guys from other courses were coming to the auditorium where Gakuro was sitting to look at Suo-senpai's new boyfriend. Then Gakuro decided to solve the problem on his own. He wrote on pieces of paper the text, "Dating rumors are false." Gakuro was going to distribute these sheets to all the students. Zeno was outraged by the idea. "Are you an idiot, Yajima?" Gakuro felt that something had to be done. He was ashamed to look Kazusa in the eye. Gakuro told his classmates that he wouldn't even dignify the rumor of a relationship with Suo-senpai. The boys were shocked to hear such words from the lanky Yajima. Gakuro taped the excuse sheets to his chest and back and walked around the school like that. Kazusa met him in the hallway. She noticed the excuse sheets on Gakuro. She approached him and wanted to talk to him. When he saw Kazusa, Gakuro turned around and started running away from her. Gakuro yelled that they shouldn't talk anymore, because if they were seen together again, she would get in trouble. And he doesn't want that. Gakuro ran into the restroom to hide from Kazusa. In the restroom was a guy unknown to him. He recognized Gakuro, calling him the rumor guy, and asked him how he was doing now. This guy was Arataka Yoshida, the student council president of this school. Yoshida told Gakuro that he was doing a good job, but he should rely on others when things take a bad turn. That's what Yoshida, as president, is here for. Yoshida gave Gakuro his phone number and left the restroom. That night, Gakuro slept peacefully. He thought about Yoshida's words. Gakuro agreed with him. Gakuro was not alone. He had nothing to worry about. The next day, the students of the school ran Gakuro down and started asking him if he really went around the school saying that anyone who wanted to take Kazusu Suo away from him would have to beat him in arm wrestling today after school. The situation got even worse. Gakuro was shocked. Where had this information come from? What should he do now? Nue came into Gakuro's classroom. She was very excited. Gakuro expected her to be supportive, but Nue cheerfully told him that today was a great day to push her limits. After saying that, Gakuro realized that it was all Nue's doing. Dozens of guys gathered to arm wrestle Gakuro. Nue acted as the jury. She sat Gakuro down at the table and Kazusa sat behind him on a chair. Kazusa sat like a trophy. The guys who came to fight Gakuro were huge. Among them were athletes and even high school students. Gakuro remembered Yoshida's words that he should rely on others. President Yoshida was also here. He single-handedly cast all the Kazusa pretenders aside. Yoshida was respected and obeyed. Everyone froze, waiting for Yoshida's word. Yoshida sat down across from Gakuro and stared at him. Gakuro, Nue, and Kazusa simultaneously understood each other without words. Yoshida is possessed by a spirit. His face and eyes gave away his obsession. Yoshida said in a low voice that he would take Kazusa Suo. The guys who came to compete for Kazusa were surprised if the president had a crush on her too. It's a sensation. Although, come to think of it, wouldn't they look good together? President Yoshida was a senior student. He was serious and wise, winner of many sports competitions, and a leader among the students of the school. He would be the perfect boyfriend for a popular beauty like Kazusa Suo. All the guys simultaneously stumbled back from their intention to fight for Kazusa against Yoshida. They didn't stand a chance. They could just watch him fight against Gakuro. All the students were only rooting for President Yoshida. Nue quietly told Gakuro that Yoshida's will had been absorbed by that spirit. Gakuro was confused. What could he do in this situation? He decided that, first, he should deal with the spirit, but they were surrounded by a crowd of school children. Gakuro realized that if he started fighting Gakuro at full strength, the rumors would only get worse. Gakuro also considered the idea of losing first. But then what? Gakuro's thoughts were interrupted by Yoshida's words. It was exactly Yoshida's voice. It faintly made its way from his body. Yoshida was in pain and was asking for Gakuro's help. Gakuro had no right to procrastinate any longer. He's here to save President Yoshida. Gakuro summoned the spirit that possessed Yoshida. He destroyed him in a matter of minutes. The students who saw this were ecstatic. Nue declared victory for Gakuro. Kazusa and Gakuro were grateful to Nue. It turns out she warmed up the crowd and even resolved the misunderstanding with the rumors. After school, Gakuro walked Kazusa home. She noted that Gakuro didn't even flinch when he started attacking the spirit. Kazusa also added that if his sister hadn't helped after he won, the rumors would have continued to spread further. Kazusa's words embarrassed Gakuro. He began to apologize to her. Gakuro didn't realize it was a compliment. Suddenly, Kazusa suggested that Gakuro exchange contacts. Gakuro was stunned. Finally, she had done it on her own. Kazusa explained that she wanted Gakuro to contact her in such situations. Gakura, of course, agreed. Kazusa noted that Gakuro was the first guy she had ever given her phone number to. She asked Gakuro not to tell anyone about it. A man in a business suit and a girl in a school uniform approached Gakuro's school. Shouting could be heard from the street. It was Gakuro and Kazusa once again fighting the spirits that haunt the school. No one was still in the school, and the occult patrol could quietly do their job. Kazusa noticed that too many second-level spirits had started appearing here. Usually, when you cast out one of those big things, the others wouldn't appear in the same dream for a while. Kazusa realized that there was clearly something suspicious going on at the school lately. This school was never a place where spirits would cause harm. Kazusa thought to herself that it would be a good idea if she and Gakura were sent for backup. For now, however, he and Gakura had to do their best. People's lives depended on them, and there was no time to complain. Gakuro was gaining more and more skills in fighting spirits. Every day he improved his skills. When he fought one of the spirits, Gakuro was certain that he had already defeated it. But Kazusa ordered Gakura not to stop. Defeating this spirit is not as easy as it seems. Suddenly, another Omiji girl appeared in the school premises. She asked Gakuro if he had ever messed with the whispering smoke. She explained that some spirits of the second level and above had a special organ that was used exclusively to deceive people. Ordinary people were deceived by these voices. The girl dealt a fatal blow to the spirit Gakuro was fighting. The girl was surprised. She had never heard of an Omeji who hadn't seen such tricks. It was clear that Gakuro lacked knowledge or training. Gakuro didn't expect to see people at the school this early in the day, not even an Omeji. He thanked the girl for her help. The girl noted that Gakuro was a very polite guy. However, she noted that such things were useless. She had a staff on her, which she used to absorb spirits. Not a trace of the spirit remained. The Omeji girl noted that she couldn't see any serious injuries on Gakuro. Without waiting for Gakuro's consent, the girl began her training. She said that now they would start repairing the damage and altering memories. They should also take care of countermeasures in case of spirits. And the school should be running as usual. In the afternoon, an Omeji girl who now looked like a schoolgirl appeared at the school. Kazusa explained to Gakuro that this girl belonged to one of the two great families. It looked like she had been sent by the Omeji headquarters as reinforcements. Gakuro didn't understand anything. What great families? Gakuro felt like he was living in some other world. Her name is Shiroha Fujini. She was introduced to the students as a new student at their school. It turned out that Shiroha had been assigned to Gakuro's class. Gakuro's classmates stared at Shiroha with fascinated looks. None of them were interested in where Shiroha had transferred from, or why. They were all staring at her beautiful face. Gakuro thought about the fact that a professional Omeji should be able to play different roles. He remembered Shiroha's words about his lack of knowledge and training. Now he understood the meaning of her words. He would never be able to play different roles so confidently. In that moment, Gakuro felt how difficult Omyuji could be, and it made him realize how indecisive, reckless, and immature he was. That feeling frightened Gakuro. He worried. Shiroha sat down next to Gakuro. Zeno thought about the fact that he would be gathering near Yajima's desk more often now. The teacher asked Yajima to share his textbooks with Fujimo. He gladly gave his textbooks to the girl so he wouldn't get too close to her. Zeno and the other guys were angry at Yajima for being so nice. None of them would have missed the opportunity to get close to such a pretty girl. Shiroha was not confused and took the initiative. She moved her desk over to Gakuro's desk. The guys were surprised that Shiroha was so assertive. However, she paid no attention to the students and played the role of a diligent student perfectly. Suddenly, Shiroha stated to Gakuro that she could smell the spirit from him. Maybe because he had borrowed his power from one of them? At that moment, Shiroha saw the wound on Gakuro's left arm. Her hunch was confirmed. Gakuro was terrified. Is he possessed? Shiroha explained to Gakuro that even if he didn't recognize it, he could judge it by his scent and pulse. Shiroha discovered the target, the spirit that had taken up residence in Gakuro. Shiroha was at this school for a reason. The Omyuji headquarters didn't realize that this school had the strongest spirit. No, but someone else did. Shiroha was assigned to guard the school. She had to make a deal with Nue before the headquarters discovered her. Shiroha asked Gakuro if he knew Nue. Shiroha's goal was to take away Nue's power. Shiroha took Gakuro's hand and asked if maybe the one who lent him her power was Nue. Yes, Shiroha knew it was her. Shiroha asked Gakuro to tell her about it. Suddenly, Shiroha's finger turned into a sharp sting, and she stabbed it into Gakuro's hand. Gakuro refused to tell Shiroha any information about Nue. Gakuro realized that he owed Nue his life. He would never betray her under any circumstances. Shiroha didn't press Gakuro for fear of scaring him off. She let go of his hand and decided to find Nue on her own. When class was over, Gakuro was alone. He thought about the fact that Nue had probably overheard their conversation with Shiroha through him. He decided that he and Nue should be careful about seeing each other for a while. He was sure that Nue would play his part perfectly. The problem was him. No one should expose them. Just as Gakuro began to think of Nue, she appeared in that audience. Nu noted that his lesson had just ended. She asked him if he had been attentive enough. Gakuro realized it wasn't about studying. He knew about his conversation with Shiroha. Shiroha returned to her full seat. She noted again that she could smell the scent of spirit. Nue walked up to Shiroha to introduce herself. Gakuro was startled. Why had Nue come here? Shiroha confessed to Gakuro that her goal was to forcibly take Nue's power. Gakuro thought about how he wouldn't let that happen. He must hide Nue from her. But will he be able to? Gakuro's doubts began to overwhelm him again. It didn't matter. Nue was already in the auditorium. What does that mean? She doesn't trust Gakuro. Does he think he can't handle it? Nue was friendly with Shiroha. She introduced herself as Gakuro's sister and said her name was Sayako. Shiroha introduced herself as well, but was wary. Gakuro understood that Shiroha would have no trouble recognizing a lie.
Nue and Shiroha shook hands.
During the handshake, Shiroha thought about how Sayako didn't look like a human. Shiroha was sure she was talking to a spirit right now, but this girl had a pulse and a warm body. No matter how hard Shiroha tried, she couldn't read anything from Nue. Not a single piece of information. Then Nue approached Shiroha and whispered in her ear that if she wanted to chat, let her come to the old school building. She would wait for Shiroha there. Nu then left the auditorium, leaving Shiroha and Gakuro in a silent frenzy. After class, Gakuro found Nue. He questioned her about how Shiroha could know about her, and why Nue wasn't hiding from her. Nue explained to him that this girl was from a special family. The Fujino family holds great power even among the Omiyoji. They are one of the two so-called great families, Perhaps they know Nue is here because they have personal information about her, Gakuro asked Nue. Shouldn't the Omyuji headquarters be after her? Nue replied that the Fujino family had been on bad terms with the Omyoji for a long time. It looked like the Omyuji didn't inform Shiroha that Nue was in this school. Could it be that the Fujino family wants to gain an advantage over the headquarters and be the first to seize her power? However, Nue told Gakuro not to worry. He just needs to adjust as he goes along. By the way, she invited Fujino to the occult club. Shiroha was already here in the room of the occult club. Nu offered to play with her. This room looked different now. Nu had furnished it to her liking, and now it looked more like a gaming club. Shiroha gave up playing on the computer. She wanted to get down to business sooner rather than later. Nue replied to her that she would talk to her only after Shiroha beat her in the computer game. There was nothing left for Shiroha to do but agree to Nue's terms. Gakuro watched their virtual battle. Then he caught himself thinking that he was rooting for Fujino. Why? He couldn't give himself an answer. Nu stated that she had already picked a game. Today, they would be playing the Shining Path. This game was quite difficult. Nue suggested to fight 2-on-1 since Gakuro and Shiroha were new. Shiroha calmed Gakuro down by saying that she used to play Shining Path before. She wanted to teach Gakuro how to play, watching Shiroha from the sidelines. Nu thought about how she knew right away that they would get along. They're both gamers. Nue had finally found a worthy opponent. Shiroha was telling Gakuro the rules of the game and what buttons he should press. He listened attentively, wondering how cute she was. While engrossed in her training, Shiroha was approaching Gakuro with her whole body. Gakuro could no longer perceive her words. She was violating his sacred personal space. Shiroha had warned Gakuro that she would recognize immediately if he ventured to give in to Nue. When the training was over and all instruction had been received, the boys got down to the game. Despite Shiroha's warning, Gakuro didn't think of giving in. He knew Nue wouldn't like it. After playing the game, Nue was ecstatic. Shirohi turned out to be really good at computer games. Oh. And Gakuro fought well. Despite that, Nue had defeated them. Of course, Shiroha decided to take revenge on Nue. This time she asked Gakuro to move his keyboard over to her. She was going to lend her support to Gakuro. Shiroha sat him on her lap and they played four-handed. Gakuro felt uncomfortable. He wished it would end soon. Shiroha got very close to Gakuro and said that they needed to discuss their battle strategy. She offered to coordinate their basic movements together as before. But Gakuro was to focus on controlling the mouse, while she would tell him which keys to press. Gakuro should have listened carefully to Shiroha's instructions, but her body was too close to him, and he could feel her warmth. Gakuro's brain shut down. He wasn't sure he remembered any of what Shiroha had told him and what he should do. He took all his will in his fist to focus. Shiroha felt the heat as well. She noticed that Gakuro's strength was growing. Shiroha thought about how it's no wonder Nue chose him. Gakuro has some kind of incredible concentration, like his body is on fire. Shiroha liked Gakuro's attitude. They had every chance of winning. However, they still lost this time. Nue was having a lot of fun. Shiroha offered to play again. Nue then suggested adding another player to the team. She was referring to the spirit that was supposedly behind Shiroha. Gakuro was surprised. He hadn't seen any spirit. Shiroha got excited. This can't be happening. However, there he was. Behind Shiroha's back stood a man in a business suit. Shiroha had once appeared already with him before she started her introduction to the school. She hadn't counted on Nue seeing him. Shiroha couldn't hide her annoyance. The guy's spirit had stopped hiding. Gakuro had now seen him as well. The spirit was surprised to be declassified so easily. Shiroha reassured her friend, saying that he was perfectly hidden. Everything spoke of one thing. Nue is indeed a monster. Nu asked the spirit if he was playing Shining Path. The spirit was serious. He stated that just because Nu made him come out of hiding, it didn't mean that he would be uncomplainingly participating in her games. In a business-like manner, he suggested that Nue talk. Gakuro was shocked. He realized Spirit and Shiroha knew that this girl was not his sister, but Nue. Shiroha noticed Gakuro's confusion. He told him she couldn't read Nue's emotions, but through Gakuro's own emotions, she was able to understand everything. Shiroha added that she came here to take over Nue's power and replace Gakuro. Gakuro suddenly began to guess. Yes, Shiroha possessed the same ability as Gakuro. People who can gain power through a spirit transaction are few and far between, and they are far away from each other. Shiroha donned her spiritual gear and appeared before Gakuro. She was belligerent and made no secret of her intentions. Shiroha presented her staff to Gakuro and told Nue that she was taking her partner hostage. Before doing so, Shiroha asked Nue to listen to one request of hers. She asked Nue to break her deal with Gakuro and make it with her, with Shiroha. Gakuro looked trustingly at Nue. He hadn't betrayed her, so what would she do to him now? Nu watched them silently. Then she answered Shiroha, let's say her hostage scheme fails. What would she do then? Shiroha stated that in that case, she would use force. She has a plan to defeat Nue. Nue assessed the situation and made a decision. Shiroha left her no choice. In an instant, Gakuro disappeared from the chair, and Shiroha was left with her staff pointing into empty space. Nue looked contentedly into Shiroha's eyes. Gakuro sat beside Nue and was no longer threatened by anything. Shiroha realized that Nue had the power to instantly draw Gakuro to her. Shiroha rebuked the spirit that he could have tried to prevent this. The spirit that was with her was named Kyokotsu. Kyokotsu wasn't going to get in Nue's way. He was waiting for the moment when he could do battle with her. Nue was amused by Kyokotsu's self-confidence. Nu joked that they weren't in a video game, so he might as well give in to it. Gakuro didn't share Nue's optimism. He sat like a scared little kitten and squirmed in his chair. The Fujino family sent Shiroha to the school where Nue was sealed away. Shiroha had to use her powers to make a deal with her. Shihora accepted all the instructions of the head of the family without complaint. He warned her that if she failed in this task, her existence would be meaningless. Shiroha was faced with a choice: do or die. The head added that he would see her field of vision, so one could dispense with reports. Shiroha began to attack Nue. Nue grabbed Gakuro's shoulders and began dodging her blows. Shiroha's main weapon was a magic staff. She used it to absorb spirits. It wasn't hard for Nue to dodge Shiroha's blows. She laughed at Shiroha's attempts to catch her and Gakuro. Gakuro didn't care about laughing. He hooked his arms around Nue's neck and hung on her back like a little monkey. Shiroha was proud of her weapon. It's called Zenri. Shiroha grabbed Nue from behind and prepared to strike with her staff. Nue managed to break free. But on the other side, Kyokotsu was already waiting for them. Nue and Gakuro were surrounded by their enemies. Kyokotsu spread his arms, which had lengthened to look like claws. Kyokotsu was surprised that Nue was protecting Gakuro during the fight. That's so mean. Nue formed a powerful stream of energy, which triggered a huge explosion. The explosion shattered the windows in the room into small pieces. Nue, with Gakuro on her back, jumped out into the hallway of the school and began to hide. She was still in good spirits. She asked Gakuro if he bit his tongue. Gakuro was so subdued that he gave no sign of life. Nue noted that Kyokotsu was an excellent assistant for Shiroha. Nue ran down the hallway and shared her impression with Gakuro. She admired the coordinated work of Shiroha and her assistant. It was obvious that they had carefully thought out a plan and prepared for the attack. Nu knew that they had bribed people and even put up a barrier so as not to cause a stir. She asked Gakuro if he could activate the spirit gear. Gakuro wasn't doing well. Nu explained to him that while they were playing, Shiroha and the spirit had drained him of his energy. So the only thing left for him to do now was to sit on her back and keep quiet. Gakuro was embarrassed. He felt like a burden to Nue. He realized how stupid and naive he still was, how easily he had let himself be led around by Shiroha. Shiroha blocked Nue's path. She attacked Nue furiously, sending her and Gakuro flying to the floor. Nue didn't expect them to catch up, but there was nowhere to go. Nue stopped her and Gakuro's fall and hung in the air a few centimeters off the floor. It was the first time Gakuro had ever seen such a thing. Shiroha's staff began to transform into a spear-like object. To avoid being hit by the spear, Nu took a wide step and pushed herself off the floor, getting back on her feet. Gakuro watched Nue with admiration. The floor beneath Nue and Gakuro parted and a black hand with long claws emerged from the hole. It was Kyokotsu's hand. Nu deftly dodged the hand, making revolutions around her axis. Kyokotsu was very close. Nue and Gakuro disappeared, leaving an empty hallway of the school. Shiroha and Kyokotsu sat sadly in the hallway, realizing their defeat. Nue and Gakuro disappeared into the darkness. Kyokotsu was compensated by the fact that Nue, who should be sealed in the school without being able to use her powers, is using her position to her advantage. She is stronger than them in this school. Shiroha reassured him. She believed that Nue and Gakuro were still within their reach, like rats in a mousetrap. Kyokotsu wasn't going to give up. He was eager to finish Nue off with renewed vigor. Nue carried herself down the hallway of the school, holding Gakuro on her back. She was amazed at the technique Shiroha had used. It was a moving spear, and it looked scary as hell. Nue explained to Gakuro that this is what is called a void weapon. It's a weapon used by Omyuji and some spirits. It only belongs to a specific person. She also added that the sword that Gakuro uses is the same weapon. But it's still in the development stage. Gakuro felt guilty in front of Nue. He promised Nue that he would be stronger from now on, so that he wouldn't be a burden to her. Nue replied to Gakuro that she was happy to see him determined to get stronger, but he shouldn't be ashamed of the situation. She warned Gakuro that eventually he would have to fight opponents close to Shiroha's level. He needed to realize that. Nu then confessed that she had purposely appeared in the classroom when he was sitting at the desk with Shiroha. She knew what it would lead to. She wanted to create such a situation to show Gakuro what he should prepare for. Nu felt calmer now. Suddenly, Nu stopped and fell silent. Gakuro froze. What happened? Nu asked Gakuro to close his right eye and hold his breath for 10 seconds. Gakuro didn't understand why he had to do that, but he obeyed Nu. The corridor of the school was filled with black sludge that dripped from the ceiling down the walls of the school, spreading all over the floor. The slurry was bubbling and making nauseating sounds. Nu explained to Gakuro that Kyokotsu's true form was in front of them. Suddenly, the slime turned into a giant spirit that stood over Nu and Gakuro like a pillar. Nu prepared to jump to avoid the spirit's attack. Nu whispered to Gakuro that everything was fine and he shouldn't panic. The spirit braided Nu and Gakuro with the ooze like liquid threads. At that moment, they heard Shiroha's voice behind them. There was nowhere to run. Shiroha cast the spell, calling familiars. Dozens of sharp-eyed ravens appeared around her, making an eerie noise with their wings. Gathering her strength, Nu lifted herself off the ground, taking a leap and reaching the ceiling. Now she could see what was happening. This is Shikigami, a rather high-level technique. Nu noted Shiroha's unique abilities. Nu, with Gakuro on her back, was spinning in the air, inspecting the techniques of Shiroha and her partner. Nu was explaining to Gakuro that Shikigami was a form of permanent magic that gave special effects and enhanced a person's abilities. These Shikigami put them at a huge disadvantage. Nu added that at times like this, there are only two options for fighting. You either run away or destroy the Shikigami with the void weapon. Nu noted that in their current situation, running away was the best solution. Nu stated that she never runs away, even when she should. Now she's going to show you what to do. Nu cast the spell Xenoblade, and dozens of ravens were cut apart by the rays as sharp as blades. Kyokotsu was astonished. Shiroha was left without any helpers. She hadn't expected Nu to have such power even when sealed. Then she realized that she and Kyokotsu hadn't prepared enough. Nu saw that Kyokotsu was using a clone that he controlled from a long distance. Shiroha asked herself, what should she do now? She remembered the words of the head of the family that if she failed in this task, her existence would be useless. Shiroha had no choice. She must fight to the last drop of blood. Shiroha prepared for another attack, but Nu stopped her with one hand. Realizing that Shiroha was weakened, Nu motioned for her to stop. None of Shiroha's weapons were working anymore. She didn't have enough energy to activate them. Nu noted that apparently Shiroha was in quite a predicament. Nu offered her a solution. Shiroha had no choice but to submit. Gakuro looked at Nu with admiration. How strong she was. Nu lowered Gakuro to the floor and began negotiating with Shiroha. Nu offered her a contract depending on the outcome. Gakuro was surprised. He was eagerly waiting for Nu to voice the terms of the deal to Shiroha. Suddenly, Nu voiced that Shiroha needed to defeat Gakuro in a fight, and then she would make a deal with the winner. Gakuro stood behind Nu and pretended it wasn't about him. Shiroha became enthusiastic. The task looked simple. However, Nu asked her to take her time. Nu announced that the fight would take place in 10 days. Here in the old school building, Gakuro didn't understand how Nu could do that to him. Nu solemnly added that after 10 days of training, Gakuro would become truly strong. Shiroha should prepare to put his life on the line. Gakuro was scared. 10 days of training? He would be exhausted. Gakuro asked Nu why she was doing this. After all, if he lost, she would have to give her power to Shiroha. Nu replied to Gakuro that it was a shortcut to his development. Since they were facing someone as talented as Shiroha, they shouldn't miss the opportunity to fight her. Suddenly, Nu suggested Shiroha to join their occult club. Shiroha refused her offer, replying that she had no time to play Nue's games. However, Shiroha accepted the duel. She promised to appear at this place in 10 days. Nu and Gakuro silently stared after Shiroha. Suddenly, Nu asked him what time the club starts working. The next day, after school, Gakuro went to the occult club. There he saw Nu, Kazusa, and Shiroha playing the console. The girls were engrossed in the game. Gakuro was stunned. He didn't expect to see Fujino here, in Nu's company. How does Nu restrain herself? Shiroha Fujino was here for a reason. The head of the family ordered her to join the club and find out Nue's true motives for the upcoming duel. The head of the family realized that Nu was unlikely to crack, so Shiroha had to find out some information from Gakuro. The girls noticed Gakuro and offered him to join their game. He refused and said he would just watch them play. Shiroha politely motioned for Gakuro to take a seat next to her. A meeting began in the clubhouse. The head of the club, Kazusa Shao, presented her plan to the members on how to strengthen their friendship. She suggested going to the beach. No one supported her idea. Then Kazusa admitted that in truth, she had been assigned to guard the beach. She explained that as people gather at the beach, many spirits appear there. That's why the Omyoji have a lot of work in the summer. Last year it was very hard. Gakuro was about to agree, but Shiroha intervened. She stated that Kazusa should be able to handle this on her own. She also added that she wasn't going anywhere because she had no motivation to be friendly. After the club meeting, Shiroha waited for Gakuro in the hallway. She offered to walk her home. Gakuro and Shiroha walked along the park in silence. Gakuro was going over ideas in his head about what to talk to her about. Suddenly to himself, Gakuro asked if she liked math. Shiroha ignored his stupid question. Then Gakuro remembered that Nue had asked him to befriend Shiroha. This would have to be done in order to defeat her in battle. Nu gave him a coupon for lunch at the Shun coffee shop. Gakuro asked Shiroha if she was hungry and suggested they go to the coffee shop. In turn, Shiroha realized that she should follow her master's orders and get some information out of Gakuro about Nue's true motives. Unexpectedly for Gakuro, Shiroha accepted his offer. Shiroha asked Gakuro how much his meal coupon was for. The coupon was for 3,000 yen and was for couples. It was for couples, and a kiss on the cheek when paying the bill was a prerequisite for using the coupon. Shiroha ordered 2 pancakes and 2 sodas. The order came out to 3,000 yen. Gakuro sat staring at the coupon. Shiroha considered that the terms of the promotion required a kiss to pay the bill. Shiroha immediately called the waitress to cancel the order. But the waitress was already carrying the pancakes and sodas to their table. Shiroha felt embarrassed. She explained to Gakuro that she had no money, and her family was strict. Gakuro broke out in a cold sweat. What should he do? There was only 1,700 yen in his wallet. He decided that he would pay for her portion. Gakuro waited for Shiroha to go to the bathroom to pay. Suddenly, Shiroha told Gakuro that he was a good man. Back at the club, when Kazusa had offered to help her work on the beach, he had been the only one willing to accept. Shiroha added that it was time for Gakuro to call it a day. People like him die before they're supposed to, or at least that's what happens in the world she lives in. Shiroha said she didn't know what reason Nue had for suggesting this duel, but it would be best for Gakuro to decline. Shiroha stated that Nue was just taking advantage of him. She explained that no matter how intelligent a spirit was, it was still a monster on a different mental level than humans. The existence of humans and spirits is impossible. They can only use each other. The same goes for Nue, whom Gakuro admires and whom he calls his mentor. Nu is nothing but an insanely smart monster. Shiroha stood up from the table and stated that she didn't want such a stupid person to be forced to help her. Besides, she realized that Gakuro was only here because Nue had asked him to. Shiroha announced that she was taking responsibility for her own failures and was about to leave. Gakuro stopped her and held out the money. He thanked Shiroha for his advice and offered to take the money as a token of his gratitude. But he added that his views on the matter would not change. He was sure that Nue was on their side, on the side of the people. Gakuro tells Shiroha that she was sealed by humans once long ago, and yet she loves being with them. Nue likes people. Also, Gakuro added that it doesn't matter to him even if Nue uses him. It doesn't change the fact that Nue is willing to train him. All he can do is trust Nue. Gakuro was angry. He felt bad for Nue who had done so much for him. He shouted to Shiroha that he would defeat her and make her recognize Nue for who she was. Shiroha replied to Gakuro that he tells interesting things. The waitress noticed the couple arguing and asked if everything was all right. Shiroha asked her to bring the bill. Shiroha thanked Gakuro for offering to pay her part of the bill and remarked that it was rather manly of him. She whispered in Gakuro's ear that it was no big deal. After saying that, she touched her lips to Gakuro's cheek. He was stunned with surprise. The lunch coupon was used according to the terms and conditions of the establishment. On the street, Gakuro caught up with Shiroha. He apologized to her for what had happened. Outside, Shiroha suggested that Gakuro go to the beach. He replied that he would only go with her. Shiroha admitted that she understood that Nue had asked Gakuro to befriend her. She was willing to play along with him. Shiroha also admitted that Gakuro was a little interested in her. Gakuro's life began to take unexpected turns.